Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I love? Patreon.com/inkdependence, where patrons get access to a patron-only Discord, ad-free videos, and the joy of knowing they help support this channel. Hello folks, welcome to Independence. I'm Mike, and today I have a twofer for you. I'm going to show you both of these at the same time because I think they're very close together, and they're both interesting inks, so it's like put them in the same review, right? So it might be a little extra long, but not that bad. Firstly, I have this one. This is from Diamine. This is Celadon Cat. This was one of the Reddit inks from a few years ago, and as you can see, it's a really interesting kind of pale, I don't know, greenish, turquoise-ish, I don't know, sea glassy kind of color. It's a little bit difficult to explain. And then on the other hand, I have Dominant Industry from their Painter series. This is Soleil Couché Autre-temps, which is number 120. This is a standard ink from them. It does not have any shimmer or sheen. Comes in this really cool box. I don't have the Celadon Cat bottle, but I mean, it looks like a Diamine bottle. You've probably seen those a few times. Also, in that, here is a little bag. Do we have a, yeah, okay, I think probably the little syringe dropper thing is in here. Yep, I can feel it come out. There it is. They always come with one of these. You may have overlooked it in your box or bag because it's pretty easy to miss, but it will help you get ink out of here and put in eyedropper pins if you like, which is kind of neat. And this is their bottle. I really like their bottles. They, I think they're some of the prettiest bottles around. Also, you can see my light and camera setup up there. How about that? All right, so there's your bottle and such. All right, let's look at this on some paper. Look at it next to a bunch of other inks, on some other papers, your water test. You're doing a lot of stuff here. Okay, so here are the two inks on my Nebula Casual Note paper that I've been using for reviews for a really long time. It still feels new because I used Rhodia for so long, but I really like this paper a whole lot. And you should definitely try out this Nebula Casual Note stuff. You can find it at all kinds of vendors, and it's great for fountain pens. This is Soleil Couché Autre-temps, obviously, over here. And on the other side, Celadon Cat. Now, these don't look that similar here, and I'm not really sure why that is. I think it might be a combination of things. One is it could be that my sample of Celadon Cat has aged a little bit in its sample vial. Sometimes that will happen and you'll lose a little bit of water to evaporation, and so it'll make your color a bit darker. Honestly, I like it way better this way. The other thing that could be happening is that I'm using it in a Sailor King of Pen, and the King of Pen has a very nice, very wet nib on it, which is why I put this ink in here, because I wanted to give it the best chance for me to enjoy it, honestly. And it's been in here for a long time. I've just refilled this pen a bunch of times. In fact, I've used most of the sample. I've got like maybe a mil left, so that's several fills of the small Sailor converter that you get with these pens. But I've really liked it in this pen for quite a while. This one was done with a Pilot Custom 74. In fact, this Pilot Custom 74, which also is a medium nib and also is on the wet side. So I was going for, you know, wetter nibs to give these paler inks that have a bunch of multi-chrome and shading and that sort of thing going on in them. I do, however, have some comparisons of these from when I very first inked them up back in the day. So keep watching. It is a bit more similar, I think, then than it is now. The bottle has not changed at all, I don't think, but maybe the sample has. It's a little bit difficult to say. All right, so over here, pale multichrome. It's really good on absorbent paper, I think, because it can be really difficult to read on the coated ones. You can see here that it is kind of pale here, and this is an ink that will dry a bit darker than it goes down. And I don't love that feature in an ink. I like to be able to see the ink go down on the page. It's just I like to get real close and like watch the ink come out of the nib. I don't know, it's just a thing I like. But this one gets a little bit darker over time. That's good for readability, but it's not so good for the like immediate satisfaction of watching the ink go down on the page. Celadon Cat, I think, is pretty standard throughout. It doesn't really seem to change much. What you see going down is more or less what's going to be there when you're done, which is pretty good. And in this form, I really like this one. I want it to be darker. Give me this one. I don't know if that's like the official color or not. We'll see on the other papers and that sort of thing. All right, so here are the chromatographies. You can take a look at those while I'm putting some water on these here pages. These do come in different size bottles. They also come in different price points, especially the Dominant Industry. These inks are between $9 and $17 for that 25 ml bottle, whereas the Diamine inks are generally way more economical. 30 ml bottles for between $3.27, which is absolutely bonkers, and $9 a bottle. So this 325 or 327 or whatever is probably Cult Pens is where I got that from. For whatever reason, they can sell Diamine inks way more cheaply. I mean, I just had some Diamine inks made for me, and they're still for sale on my site. Go check it out, inkdependence.com. But I'll tell you what, that's lower than my price. That's lower than what I paid Diamine for bottles as a a person who's distributing an ink. So yeah, I don't know how they're getting that price. It's kind of wild, but yeah, very inexpensive, I think, and a good price there. As you can see in those chromatographies, though, we have very similar color profiles in these two inks. The Celadon Cat is definitely a bit darker, and you can see there's more of that red and there's more of that blue up there. But they both have like this pink area. They both have a gray, although the gray is stronger in this one. Really interesting, and I'm not surprised this one's darker, given the darker colors up here at the top. Both of them, well, interesting. This one has a little bit more water resistance than that one does, even though you have this nice gray line down here that's stuck around. It does not help out when you get water on this ink. How about that? Really strange. This also not water resistant at all, but you might be able to make out some of what you wrote if you spill your ice water or whatever, your tea or something on this one. But it's going to be a close one. Cat doesn't like water. Soleil Couché au Chaton doesn't like water either. Don't put water on your paintings. Look at that painting, though. And also, I got to say, like, look how close the colors in this painting are to this thing. So you've got all those like pinks and blues and greens and grays and stuff in here, and they're showing up in your writing and that sort of thing as we go. And you'll see more of that, I think, on the next papers that we look at. All right, let's take a look at this on a bunch of different papers. All right, so firstly, here they are on my Staples 20-pound, 30% recycled copy paper. There is the Soleil Couché au Chaton on that paper, and I don't think that looks very good on this paper, which is kind of odd. It generally looks better on the more absorbent papers, but I don't know. It's kind of weak sauce on this one, honestly. And then Celadon Cat down there has done a little bit of feathering and maybe a bit of spreading, but not too much. On the back, however, the Soleil Couché au Chaton is a bit better, I think, than the Diamine. But I will say I think the King of Pen nib is much wetter than that Pilot one. That Pilot's still a pretty wet nib, but this one's a bit more. So that might be the difference. If you put it in a fine nib, it might be a little bit more, a little bit harder to read, but it won't act as poorly on the copy paper. But of course, this is the worst paper that you'll probably be finding. This is just like what's in your office copier, and it's not meant for liquid ink. You can see there's actually a lot of time in between, a lot of pages in between these two. I have this is from page 88, and this is from page 103. So these are a bit disparate. So maybe take yourself 2 screenshots. But I think these inks look very similar on. Actually, let's switch them around because we've been doing it this way the whole time. These inks look very similar, I think, on here. Celadon Cat is definitely darker than Soleil Couché au Chaton, but it's not that much darker. I think they're pretty darn similar. These are, of course, different papers, which, I don't know, maybe I should have done better at that, but there's a lot of time in between those. So, on the left here, we have Ireful paper, and on the right, we have Midori MD Cotton. And I like both of these papers a whole lot, although I think the Ireful is really kind of repelling that ink. And so you can see up here at the top on the Ireful with the Dominant Industry ink, you have just like very pale top lines. Like I'm putting the nib down and then it's writing just fine, but it pulls the ink down to the bottom of the letter. And so you end up with, if you have any connection between your letters, as I tend to, even though I don't write cursive, you end up with a very dark like bottom of the letters, or like for the M, very dark, right? So it's okay. I don't like it on this paper very much. I think this paper is much too I don't know much. Well, the formal term is sizing, right? It's too much. It's too coated. It's too slick. Too liquid repellent. However, on the MD Cotton, I think this looks pretty okay. I mean, I don't love it on here. I think it looks pretty okay. This is the Diamine. That looks all right. So there you go. Take yourself some screenshots of those if you are rebuilding the 99% Invisible City by Roman Mars and Kurt Kohlstedt. I have one here about production placards. It's about LA and how actors find sets. And this one over here is about the Postal Service. Really weird and interesting combination of topics I've got there. And then lastly, this is my Galen Leather Co. Everyday book. This is old school Tomoe River paper. And you can see I actually put these inks back in, well, basically like January-ish of 2024. And they were very, very, very similar when I put them down originally. This is a brand new fresh scribble that I did with that King of Pen. And I think it's gotten a bit darker, honestly. And there's not really any way I can go back from that. So just kind of the way it goes. But I think when you get a fresh bottle of these things, they're going to be quite similar to each other. You can see also I inked this up 2 separate times. I cleaned it out and then I filled it back up. So, but this one I just kept refilling. I actually kind of liked it in there. It's darker in general, so pretty nice. You know what might have happened actually is maybe this was I don't know. I have theories. It could be that I was having a hard time getting the King of Pen nib down into this sample vial, and so I just like syringe filled the converter. Not really sure, but in any case, I think they're pretty similar most of the time. All right, some ink sample times. Now, I don't have terribly many of these to compare it to, and that's because it's just not like very many inks, honestly. So there's Celadon Cat and the Dominant Industry Soleil Caché à Autre-temps. You can see they're very similar. This is a fresh sample, and this is also was fresh there. So I bought this one in Atlas, and I got this sample from Van Ness Pens, more or less at the same time-ish, like pretty close in time. And yeah, as you can see, very similar, and also very nice colors in there. And here's that painting again. Yeah, I think it's got a lot of those kind of sky and sea colors in there. It's pretty impressive how they reproduce the colors in that painting. Really neat. All right, so I only pulled like 2 samples. I didn't have anything that was really that close to these. This is Linen Toolbar's Ghost Plant, which I've only just gotten, and I think it's kind of close, although it's much more green. And then this is a Pen Show ink from San Francisco last year, which is, I don't know, still too green. These are like the only 2 things I have that are like one another. It's interesting that they're so much alike and so different from the rest of the things in my collection. I just don't really have anything that's that close. It was tough to find these. So interesting. If you're into this kind of lighter color area where you get this this shading and that sort of jazz, I would say yeah, try one of these out. I don't know, I probably would say go for the Celadon Cat over the Soleil Caché à Autre-temps, although learning to say Soleil Caché à Autre-temps was really fun, so it's got that going for it, for sure. But you can find this all over the place, and also you can find these, but like I said, the price on that one's going to vary wildly between nations. Actually, both of them, now that I think about it. So yeah, really interesting pairing there. I don't know, let me know what you think. Sorry about using different papers for the big writing samples, but I just kind of forgot because there's a lot of time in there. But you know, it's good to see this color on different things, I think. I don't know. All right, there you go. That's it. Soleil Caché à Autre-temps, Celadon Cat. That's it. Think about what you put out in the world, make it a better place. Peace out, y'all.